Hello there, this is the Module 7 video. So before we get started in this module, I do want to give you a little bit of heads up. This is typically the module that students find the most challenging. And the reason for this is we're probably going to talk about some concepts and some ideas that you've never heard of before. So, take your time and make sure to ask lots of questions. So one of the main goals of this course is we're learning ways to take sample data, or the information from a sample, to say something or to make inference about an entire population. If we're going to do that, we have to have an understanding of how data from a sample behaves. And so what do I mean by that? So let's start with the group that we really want to learn about, that population. So usually what happens is we've got this population that we'd like to learn about, but we only get to inspect a small piece of it. And we saw in earlier modules that it's important that we take random samples. Well, if we were to take two separate random samples from the same population, we would likely have different people or animals, whatever it is we're studying in those two different samples. And because of that, the statistics we calculate from those samples are going to be different. But our goal is to use the statistic to learn about the population. So we have to account for the fact that that statistic changes in value from sample to sample. And it ends up that if we take random samples, our statistics are going to follow certain patterns. And in order to understand that pattern, what we're going to do in this module is we're going to look at something that's called a sampling distribution. So a sampling distribution is this theoretical idea that helps us describe the behavior of statistics from different random samples. And so that's what you're going to see today. So what we're going to do is we'll start out with population data. We'll take lots of samples from that population data, and we'll look at the statistics from each of those samples. And we'll see, do these statistics follow any patterns? And what you're going to find out is one of the reasons that random samples are so important is that statistics from random samples tend to exhibit certain patterns. And what we can do is in cases where we can't take lots of samples from the population, let's say we only get one, we can still use those patterns to help us use the information in the statistic to learn about the parameter, which is kind of our overall goal. So again, in this module, what we're doing is we're starting to learn about the pattern that these statistics from many random samples exhibit. And so we're going to learn about a sampling distribution and how to create one, and then we're going to learn about those patterns, and you're going to learn a little bit of probability theory. And the probability theory is there to kind of help you understand, well, how can we use these patterns? How can we describe these patterns of these different statistics from different random samples? And then when we get to Module 8, that's when we're going to actually apply the ideas from the sampling distribution and use those ideas to construct what are called confidence intervals. And that's what's really going to help us take the information from the statistic to learn about the parameter. So again, this is the module that students tend to find the most challenging. So, take your time with it, ask lots of questions, post to the general discussion board. I'm more than happy to help or to answer questions. And I will talk to you in the next module.